Cool. Alrighty, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of the Move Well with McGee podcast and TV. Today I have Nick Hare, my man. We ran into each other on the most unique of circumstances. We flew by each other probably 1,000 times before we actually got to work with each other, but thankfully we did. And we're going to go on a little journey today talking about our fitness, our training with our clients. And then the meat and potatoes of this section today is going to be how Nick is preparing for his military journey and all of the nuances in which he wants to bring to the military regarding training styles, new things that he thinks that could only benefit the people of the military. And then we're going to dive into a little bit of the science of breathing, something that is so overlooked in my opinion and many other opinions, but it's also very simple to implement, very free to implement, and also can create some really, really big change really quickly. So it's interesting. So let's get into it. Nick, who are you? What do you do? What's going on?
Well, again, thanks for having me. So I graduated college computer science, but I did more of a personal training route. Didn't do too much computer science yet, other than just a few web design asks here and there, even with you guys. But just had a background in baseball that slowly integrated to my love for lifting more. And then as I got into lifting, I started noticing some things just from my friends or just training, the internet, however, the typical route, if it was Instagram or finding a favorite lifter that you went to, and noticing there's a lot of things and a lot of information out there. So as I got into more details, I started to see some of these different things that made me want to dive deeper into teaching it, because I found there's a lot of misinformation. And then today I always joke there's now the 17 or 18-year-old guy that, it has a decent physique that just does a bunch of bicep curls and makes a page, and then he gives out information to people. That ends up being a very bad, part of that of Instagram that I think that we are trying to, take away and make more information available, easier to people to say like, hey, like some people literally just do 4x12 bicep curls and don't know a lot, and to get more people that way. So I found that route to do more personal training, get more information to people that want it or, are interested in just general fitness. And since then, just powerlifting and jujitsu, some of the hobbies and interests I've had since diving deeper into training. But other than that, just hopefully taking it one day at a time.
So a Renaissance man for sure. Obviously, baseball background was my background as well, and we've actually crossed paths many times. Like we talked about before, my parents found an article of us just recently. That was kind of cute, very cute. But then, powerlifting, jujitsu. I even got you into rock climbing. So your background and experience with how the body moves is very vast, and I think that's what brings a lot of value to you, and your value towards your clients is you can speak from many different perspectives. And so we're just going to start off with your why. And your why kind of sounds like the majority, a little bit of the foundation of a lot of our trainers, the ones that we like to work with and associate with, is we're trying to just bump the standard up for, physical fitness, healthcare at this level. It's everywhere. It's a very low entry point to get into this. You can open up a Cheerio box and pull out a certification if you're lucky. I think they bumped it up more than the toys. And all of a sudden you can give out advice that can really make or break someone's body, but make or break someone's careers, goals, health, fitness, and anything. So I think, we have a really important role, even though we might just be the pawns in this medical system. So we met through functional range systems. That's the locator thingy I clicked on. I found you. I was like, oh my God, someone's in Pottsville. This is awesome. So let's dive into that a little bit. So how would you, I love this because, we have a hard time sometimes describing this style, this thing that we do with people. And I know a lot of coaches that we talk to all the time are like, it's hard. Like, it's hard to communicate this thing. And even upcoming coaches, this will be good for them too. So what do you do? Do you just stretch people? Is it like hardcore yoga, or like what's going on there?
No, so that's I think that the trouble I have even with the people or clients that I have is that once you get into the part where people associate you with stretch, so like one of the options that the systems provides is a teachable course or just a class that you can take called Kinstretch. I think a lot of people hear stretch and then have this negative connotation towards it. So I think in the end, there's just a miscommunication from like word of mouth. People have this sense of they hear one thing 1,000 times, regardless of what it is, and then that becomes the truth. So it's one of those things where um, the training is just strength training, just like anything else. And then just what rules all training, regardless of what you're doing, is going to be specificity and progressive adaptation. And then Kinstretch is exactly the same principal foundations of that. And what I try to do is now integrate I have obviously a bias to strength background because of the powerlifting that I've done. But once you look through a lens of a system like functional range systems, you'll start to see that specificity cannot be beaten. And once I try to integrate my strength into jiu-jitsu, you come to realize that I'm really good at flexion extension for squatting and deadlifting. And you put me in a rotational sport like jiu-jitsu, and it doesn't matter how strong I am. There's a person I went to high school with that also does jiu-jitsu at the same gym. She's between 110, 130 pound girl, and she's a purple belt that I don't have a chance against. But on a strength point, if you put me in the gym, I could, from a strength perspective, I absolutely dominate her in probably everything, but it doesn't matter because just specificity wins. She has the strength in positions, technique in the sport itself that beats me, 10 out of 10 times every single time.
Yes.
So what I have now taken a more abstract view with the system, the lens the system gives me, that if I am training someone into their sport, whatever it may be, baseball, basketball, whatever, there has to be that as the focal point at all times. The why I am picking a exercise and the why I'm making this person do something has to be answered every single time to the specificity of their sport. And if I'm not, you're going to end up doing what I did and thinking that, what's going to happen is you're going to think that if I squat 400, this is exactly why my baseball career started to go down, other than some personal stuff. But from a very physical perspective, I was always smaller. I'm only 5'7", and I graduated high school 135 pounds, 140 pounds. So I always told myself if I could squat 400 or 500 or deadlift 500, 600, I would just be a better baseball player. All that did was make me better at squatting and deadlifting. It made me. So it's just one of those things where you have to take the training very specific to sport. If you want to be better at baseball, your general training needs to be geared to be a better human towards that sport and not being a better squatter deadlifter, because those movements may make you stronger as a being, but doesn't make you better at that sport. It's one of those things where I had a bad lens looking in, but now that I have a more abstract, broader view with a system that gives you all the material right in front of you, easily to digest, the answers become easier, the exercise selection becomes easier, and it's easier to program to a person for their specific things because everybody needs the same stuff per se, and the only difference is the specificity of their sport, is whatever they need to be more prioritized on.
Yep. No, I really like that. It's the whole added, are you here to be a great baseball player and a good lifter, or are you here to be a great lifter and a good baseball player? And that has provided us that lens and this process to really truly access that. I want them to be a great whatever they're doing, and then just allow the other stuff to kind of supplement and push them in the right direction. So I totally agree with everything you said. That makes sense. And so it seems like your thought process has changed from taking this course, right? Yeah, for sure. Everyone, right? No, I love that. Any resistance to besides what you said, this hearsay and things kind of get passed down the wire too often, but what are some one kind of a specific instance of resistance and how you've kind of overcome that with the training? Maybe the client was I don't really understand this. This is kind of weird. How do you battle that?
I think the toughest thing is that people are we always talk about wants and needs. A client's going to come to you with they want things but you want to give them something that there's going to be a difference. So notice that they have, they can't move their back well, or they have bad shoulder mobility, but they want to do shoulder presses or something like that. I think what happens is that you show them that they can't do a certain thing beforehand. I think it's helped me the most. So I have most of my clients that I have so far at AFC have been more old in the elderly population here. And what I find a lot is they have bad shoulder mobility. And all I tell them to do is move their shoulder over their head, and they can't do it. And I say, well, why would I make you put your arm there with weight if you can't do it? So when I find resistance, when they say, hey, well, I used to do this when I was younger, I just show them, well, what I can do is get you to a certain position, and it feels the same.